Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Kansas City Symphony Orchestra. Special thanks to Jennifer Mitchell for putting this whole thing together, and all the musicians who came out, donated their time to be here for Marcia and all of you.
Well, welcome Marcia, who has decided to leave. Oh, there she is. Welcome Marcia was a decidedly impressive entrance, and we can only wish to have the same thing. We appreciate you being here, otherwise this whole thing would be kind of pointless. Fun, but kind of pointless. So again, we welcome our person of honor. I was going to thank the Christian Timbre Orchestra, but I have no idea who these people are, where they came from. But certainly I want to thank them. They've done a fantastic job. We're here at the Vox Theater in downtown Kansas City. It was established as a silent movie house in 1922. Refurbished in 1940. Spent some time here making some sheet metal work and ducting. And then this is the result of what happens if you have one bad week of Phantom of the Opera. You'll end up as a place for drunks. I haven't visited Kansas often. I've been to Kansas a few times. Always come back for the cuisine. It's always so varied and different. You can get sauce on your ribs or not on your ribs. You get pulled or not pulled chicken. You can get your ends burnt or not burnt. It's just a fantastic variety. So much work coming back. So what's the deal with ALS? ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Must have been a hell of a day for him. You don't like Lou Gehrig? Okay. You're not going to like the next 10 minutes now. He woke up one morning, not feeling so good. He went down to the hospital, or the blood-sucking clinic, or the Colour of Minds. I don't know what healthcare was like in the 50s. And he goes in there and they run some tests. The doctors come in, all white coat and attitude. You know how doctors are. And they sit him down and they say, do you want the good news or the bad news? Because, you know, that's how I always think of doctors, you know, they pass their diagnosis on, and sort of a game show format, I think, is probably the best way to do that kind of thing. So, he says, listen, I mean, I thought I was coming in for a hangnail, but let's just take the bad news. I said, well, the bad news is you've got an incurable disease and you're going to die real soon. We said, well, that's not great news. But what's the good news? Well, so the good news is we're going to name it after you. And I feel like that's not really a great trade-off. I feel like you didn't really get a good deal. Maybe they should have thrown in a sweetener or something. All right, we're going to bring on our first roaster now. He came all the way to us from Tennessee. He's a little confused about people wearing shoes and socks. He's very excited to be introduced to electricity. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mike Aaron.
Thank you, Matt. What is it they say in show business, Christian? You don't want to follow animals or children?
No, that's right.
Got 2 in 1 right here. So, Marcia, I'm going to tell you, I couldn't bring myself to be particularly vicious in this roast. You know what a softie I am. We're going to leave that to people who are dead inside. Or Scott. So it really is great to be here tonight. I'm humbled and honored to kick off the roast of our dear friend, Marcia Barber. It's a particularly great-looking crowd, which I assume means most of you aren't from Kansas. It's great to see so many of the Cisco family here tonight, too.
Cisco kids.
We kind of think of Matt as the wise old grandfather of the Cisco family. So old, in fact, that when he started his career in IT, he was programming computers with punch cards on clay tablets, written in hieroglyphics. Many of you may know that Matt was an airline pilot for a while as well. What you probably don't know is that Matt was grounded by the FAA. It's true. Somehow they found out that his goal in life was to die quietly in his sleep, while the passengers behind him were screaming in terror. And I'll get to Marcia in just a moment, but I did want to recognize Scott Barber for his commitment to his family and his devotion to Marcia. And Scott, I've heard a lot of people compare you to a Wookiee, which frankly I think is unfair. It is. Wookiees have less hair and they're better groomed. And I've always wanted to game with you, Scott. I know you love your strategy games, but frankly, I'm afraid you're going to pull my arms out of their sockets if you do. You know what they say, you got to let the Wookiee win. All right, my dear friend Marcia. I hope you're ready to get roasted tonight, but don't forget, if things get too tough, just stand up and walk out. So I think one of the things that first impressed me about Marcia was her diplomatic way with words. One of the first times that we had really engaged much, I had just given a presentation to a crowded room of Cisco employees. Marcia was a contractor at the time. I was waiting in the wings. I felt like I'd done a pretty good job, so I asked Marcia what she thought, hoping for a little ego boost. Her response? But let me tell you why it sucked. You always knew how to make me feel good about this. Here it is. Marcia is well known for being a great teammate, a hard worker, with an incredibly sharp mind. But after working so closely with Marcia for years, I think there's a side of her that many of you may not have seen. Marcia is a master manipulator. She's able to orchestrate things to get her way anytime she wants it. We made several trips to India together, almost always returning on a connection through Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, usually in the morning hours. And rather than allow me, the boss, to get what I wanted for breakfast, she would manipulate me into going into the duty-free and loading up on champagne, sausage, cheese, baguettes, and then finding a quiet corner to eat. Marcia, I don't even like cheese. It was always about you. love lying to get her way either. On another trip destined for India, we were over the Atlantic, and I was walking back to the lavatory from first class, and here comes Marcia up from steerage. She told me she wasn't feeling well, laying the foundation in her web of lies. Once we landed in Paris, she laid it on even thicker, going to the bathroom and pretending to throw up. Then to make it believable, she would come back out and tell me how much she wanted to complete the trip, only to run to the bathroom again and fake her retching noises. This went on for hours until I succumbed to her manipulation and suggested she stay there. And that's how Marcia spent 3 days in Paris, while I had to travel to India, alone, unsupervised, helpless. You weren't fooling anyone, Marcia. Also, as an aside, I think it was pretty damn selfish of you to be the best damn chief of staff I ever had, ruining it for anyone else in the future. All right, lastly, her lack of character didn't end with work either. Marcia, Scott, and the boys came to visit me in Tennessee a few years ago. We spent an afternoon in our neighborhood pool, and Marcia encouraged me to get some swimming time with Liam and Miles. Everything was going okay until Liam decided to hop out of the pool, sprint to the deep end, and jump in. Of course, he immediately went straight to the bottom. I was terrified. I dove in after him and was able to pull him out and get him back on the side of the pool, only to watch him jump right back in there. I was finally able to fish him out and get both of them back to the shallow end. Marcia, trying to pin the death of your children on me is just not.
That's so great.
And in closing, I love you, and I will always think of your bossiness with fondness.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Mike Allen. Okay, our next roadster traveled to us from California. He rides a motorcycle. He lives half the year in an RV in Baja, California. He has a man bun. So, if you've ever wanted to meet an aging hippie, you're going to want to introduce yourself to this man later on this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Del Duca.
Kansas City, wow. Hey, so Matt, give me a timeline, because I said, you know, if you're going to put me up here and give me a microphone, and you better get the hook. So, first, Marcia. That joke never gets old, you know, it'll never get old. You know, I want to start off with a couple of things you may not know about Marcia. One, she collects pocket knives. If you have pocket knives, or you see a very unique pocket knife, send it to Marcia and Scott. They love them, right? I think she inherited a collection from her father, so if you could add to that, that would be awesome. You know, so Marcia and I would have our one-on-ones, and I always looked at Marcia as kind of like my, well, frankly, she was the one who told me not to be such a dick, so, you know. But what we would talk about was horses and motorcycles, right? You know, Marcia has like 9 horses, I swear. None of them she rides because they all have some ailment, a cracked hoof, or I don't know what the vet bills were, but I was like, okay, you know. I'm like, and then she would buy another horse, and I bought it because, you know, it was going to have a very tragic end, and I'm like, what are you going to do with it? She goes, well, I'm just going to keep it and pay for it and house it and feed it, and, you know. And then I looked up horses. They live like 20 years. You know? So anyway, Marcia, a couple things. You know what? I think I win this argument. You know, bikes don't have attitudes. Horses do. You know, and really, if I get thrown off my motorcycle, it's not going to come back and bite me or trample me or refuse to listen to me. So I think we can concede that motorcycles are better than horses. They don't leave big steamy piles in the road, you know, that you gotta try to drive around. You know, another thing that, well, Marcia had to educate me, because, you know, I grew up in North Dakota, and she told me she played a string instrument. And I kept, from that day forward, I just called it a fiddle, which was, you know, so, because I was vehemently corrected that it was not a fiddle, and so it was a fiddle from then on. And today, it's still a fiddle, so, you know, there you go. You know, one of the most endearing things to talk about work, because we worked together for a great number of years, I remember the day she made director. It's a big day, it's a big, you know, it's a milestone in life, right? And all the heavy breathers, you know, Mike and Matt and Shana were in there doing the thing, in the room thinking their big thoughts and all that, and a lot of this going on, you know, and all that. And I was outside, you know, waiting to, you know, show them something, and Marcia came out and she goes, Del, you have to be sworn to secrecy, but I think I'm gonna get made director. And I was like, oh, and I said, oh, you know, secret's safe with me, and then all I could think about was like, oh, and I'm saying these words, oh, congratulations, I'm so happy for you, that's awesome. And all I could think about was, great, another friggin' director I get to make slides for, you know? Yeah, here we go. I can see how this, I know this is gonna work out, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna close with this story, because I probably, if I went back through my text, probably have no less than 50 or 60 pictures of this. So Marcia and Scott bought this big white truck, okay? And she's pretty proud of that pickup, you know? I could just see her driving it down the road, you know, doing the little one-finger wave, all that, right? Well, she sent me all these photos. She goes, I did it. I'm like, well, what did you do? What she had done was she had backed the white pickup up to the horse trailer and finally got the ball under the hitch. And I'm like, man, am I excited for you? And then it was on a slope, and it only took me like 13 tries, and I'm like, okay. And I said, Marcia, you know, I have a suggestion. Amazon, backup camera, $50, get one. Huh? Right? It helped a bunch. I have no idea what this is. It's wrapped up like a bag of heroin or something. I don't know what that is. I just saw it on movies. Right?
Leave the band's personal stuff alone.
Marcia, I love you. It's been great to work with you. I don't have anything negative to say, much, because I'm trying to keep this PG. I was given pretty stern instructions. And so with that, I'm going to close. Matt?
Ladies and gentlemen, Del Duca. We're very lucky to have with us this evening a lady who came all the way from California. When she left California, she had Ocean View property. She's not sure at this point whether she has oceanfront property or any property at all to go back to. But ladies and gentlemen, Laura McCarty.
So, Miss Barber, I met Marcia when she came to Cisco, and I was oh so happy because there are two men in this room that I could never control, Mike Adams and Matt Law. And all of a sudden I talked to Marcia and I'm like, oh, my life is so much better now. Because she could do it. And then I didn't work with her for a long time. I left them in her capable hands. Sorry, Marcia, that was a mistake. But we would always, if she was in San Jose, or if she happened to be in Raleigh, I might see this Kansas City number up. And I was like, Kansas City, but then I would see Marcia, and we would decide that we would see each other. And so one night, though, I didn't know she was in town. It's in Raleigh. I go into the bar, the Sheraton bar for those Cisco folks. Yeah. It's a little bit famous, especially because of Marcia. And there's Reagan, and there's Marcia. And they might have had a few cocktails.
Maybe.
And it might have been snowing. And Reagan is from Texas. Now, Reagan wasn't staying at the hotel. She's like, it's okay, I'll drive in the snow. Marcia and I are like, oh no. But she was going. So here Marcia and I are running after Reagan in the car with her window down. Do this, turn into the skid if you go. You know, this is how you drive in the snow. And literally Marcia and I are out there in the snow telling Reagan how to drive to her hotel. I don't know if you remember this, but it was hilarious. We almost ran the entire way of the drive, but then Marcia and I said, she'll live, we'll go back to the bar. Then we became two potted plants, basically. I have a picture of us that night where we were kind of just sitting with our cocktails, closing down the bar. We had figured out that Reagan was alive, which was good. She's still here tonight. And I thought this was a toast, not a roast, because I'm not very funny. So with that, I want to raise our glasses and toast Marcia Barber.
Ladies and gentlemen, Laura McCartney. Our next roaster came all the way down 395. 395, is it right? 395? I get the numbers wrong. But local in Kansas, and met Marcia when they worked together at Sprint. Like the Can You Hear Me Now guy who left Verizon to join Sprint. In the end, everybody had to leave Sprint. The Sprint was no more. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jennifer Schulberger-Leon.
Thanks, sorry about that. WebEx sucks. A special thanks to our sponsors this evening, Cisco. Awkward. So really, where the hell's the teleprompter? Because, great. Okay. So, hello, my name is Elder Lion, and I'd like to share with you the most important book. Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and personal Savior? Oh shit, I'm in the wrong meeting. Not that I should get an introduction, because I'm a bit of a social media phenomenon myself with all of my 22 Twitter followers, but my name is Jennifer Schulberg-Lyon. And I first met Marcia while we were scratching and clawing our way toward middle management in a highly dysfunctional corporation. I'm pretty sure that the client we shared was run by the Mexican mafia, but that's another story. So anyway, we've come a long way since then. I honestly have no idea what I'm doing here. But when I heard about this event, I Googled roast, and I learned it was like an opportunity to push the bounds of decency in honor of someone who does it so well. So I figured, oh, what the hell? I can't believe they gave me this mic. I didn't get the rule about PG. Sorry, I'll read through all of the emails. Brace yourselves. Marcia, thank you for coming. I'm guessing that's not something you do very much of these days. Actually a little hurt. I mean, I made all this effort. I drove all the way down here, like 17 minutes. Put on a bra, put on deodorant. And I get here and Marcia can't even say hi. Really? Oh, is that too much? Oh, are you playing the ALS card now? Cool. That's kind of lame. No, I'm new to comedy. Even I'm questioning this joke right now. But here's the joke. Knock, knock. Not Marcia. Sorry, I really didn't read through the email. So really, what can we say about this incredible, vivacious, genuinely decent human? No, really, what can you say? Because I'm going to notice. Anyone? No, I know I was immediately drawn to Marcia. Her sarcasm, her humor. We share a love of Antibes and of music and everything. And really, what drew me to her even a long time ago, and it's been a long time, was her ability to laugh when wallowing in the steaming piles of shit that life occasionally puts in our paths. And, you know, ALS has really robbed Marcia of this. So now it's really just about her fabulous rack. Perhaps the most formative point in my relationship, my history with Marcia, came during a very recent trip. We went to Napa for the Just Dying for a Girls Weekend bucket list event. Oh, wait. I might be violating an NDA, Nicole. What the hell? I have a good feeling jail's in my future anyway. I mean, I hear prison food is pretty good if it's unshaven. Shake you very much. Anyway, the girls' weekend. So, I get invited to attend this weekend with a dozen or so women who, with the exception of Marcia, I don't know. For me, this is kind of a personal version of estrogen-charged hell. But I figured Marcia had just enough dirt on me to destroy my wildly successful career in mediocrity and bullshit. So I decided to go along with it. Guys, I'm so glad I did. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with a gaggle of women and quite possibly the most undertrained and laziest service dog in history? The occasional miraculous resurrection to gather like any bit of food within a 6-foot radius, even 6 foot high. I mean, other than that, if Vader like managed to open his eyes, we're like, oh look, 6 more weeks of winter. That dog. I think he fits the Barber family well. Turns out this weekend, the entire weekend, it was beautiful, and it was an example of really everything that I have always admired about Marcia and how she's really doing life the right way. I mean, there's food and wine and music and just beautiful new friendships, and yeah, there was some odd taxidermy some really great lesbian jam sessions, Princess Bride, and you know, the splendor of the valley from a veranda of a picturesque homestead in a site that I think might have been used for the scene for Blair Witch Project, but there's some wheelchair junk diving, and it was just really so much love, and there were a lot of boobs. I mean, really, like more titties than the Pornhub server, Scott. And oh, by the way, note to anyone interested, you might not want to share your cell phone password with me, ever. In any case, it was a wonderful weekend, and it was filled with a lot of strong and incredible people that at some point in their lives were fortunate enough to meet and become, like me, enamored by this incredible woman we're here to celebrate tonight. Marcia is an example of how to live life to the fullest, and damn, she's doing it right, and she doesn't half-ass anything. I mean, this chick's like, menopause sounds like shit, so I'm just gonna skip it. Watch this. So I'm operating under the Queen of Lenex's directive to, I think we're supposed to laugh until we pee was the instruction. I mean, let's face it, a lot of us are in our 40s and haven't had great sphincter control in some time now, so it's not a huge ask, but if you don't laugh, I will be happy to go over to the piano. I don't actually play, so you might want to laugh. So, for some unknown reason, like in this, I was, and this might be awkward because I'm not sure I'm supposed to actually divulge this about the event tonight, but I was asked to be something called the sad police, and just to keep things light and joyous for Marcia and for everyone here, because it has a tendency to get a little bit heavy. And apparently my inability to feel emotion or give a shit about anyone else can be turned into a great skill. So yeah. Get with me later on parenting tips. I think the intent for me was to use my stellar personality to liven things up, but I'm tired and I'm kind of like, well, inherently lazy. So I'm passing out edibles in the consolation corner later on. Offering baptisms for anyone who needs them. They're Doritos, right? And holy water? Cool. So, in closing, I just want to raise a glass to this incredible being who's brought us all together tonight. Marcia, get it up. We love you, and thank you for my opportunity to be a runner in your honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Schulberg-Leon. I know what you're thinking now. Enough of this bullshit. What this roast needs is a prop comic. So those of you in the front row, you're going to want to get your plastic sheets ready. There's no plastic sheets? It's blood and a little watermelon juice. I'm sure it'll come out in the morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kristen Archer.
After all these really great professional, like clearly Fortune 500 style roasts, I'm a teacher and I'm all about the arts and crafts. So just bear with me here. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm sorry, they've been holding out on you. I'm Kristen and I have been friends with Marcia for 7-ish years now. And when you get to know someone as well as I know Marcia at this point, you have a lot to say, right? And so when she said, I want to do this roast, I was like, hell yeah. I've got a lot I'm going to share about you. And I sat down and I read this roast and it was really great, you guys. It was like 2.5 pages and super mean, and I like read back through it and I was like, oh man, every single thing on here is about Scott. Or Vader. So, I was kind of like, I didn't know what to do and I was starting to panic, right? Because the whole purpose of a roast is to be mean to somebody. And how are you mean? I mean, you guys did a great job of showing me how you can be mean to Marcia, but like, I'm struggling to be mean to Marcia, right? And I didn't know what to do. And I was really like, do I back out of this? I don't know what I'm doing. This is a terrible idea. And so I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and finally, on Christmas, you guys, it was a Christmas miracle. I was wrapping gifts for my children, and I brought one of them to share with you my inspiration. So, hang on, first prop of the evening. For those of you who don't know what this is, man, am I envious of you. These things are called squishmallows, right? And they're this thing. And these kids love them, and man, they collect them, and they want the big ones and the small ones and the ones that clip on their backpacks and like whatever. They're horrible, right? And I've hated them for years and never quite understood the draw. Until Laura pointed out to me that they all come with these little bio tags. And she was like, holy shit, oh my gosh, you've never read one? And I was like, no, I've never read one. Why would I bother to do that? Like, that's what you throw off and put in the trash so your kid doesn't complain about it poking them in the head in the middle of the night. And so she was like, go home and read one. So I want to share this with you just so you understand the joy of these bios. Schwartz, I cannot thank you enough for introducing me to these. So this lovely squishmallow is named Ziv. That's right, Ziv. Meet Ziv. He loves gardening and forest conservation. Every day he plants new trees to give the forest a little extra help to grow. He's planted 400 trees already. When he grows up, he wants to be a climate scientist and help the whole world. Grab a seed and join him, right? So next time you're at Target and you're like bored walking the aisles, go to the toy section and check out the Squishmallows and start reading their tags. Like, there's a Stingray that has her PhD. There's a panda bear that's an optometrist and has his own practice. Last night I found a woolly mammoth that is a sandwich artist. So, you know, go for it. So as I was wrapping Ziv, I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, it's squishy, it's overpriced, it's Marcia Barber, right? So of course, here I am inspired to create my own Marcia Squishmallow. Okay, so wait for it, here we go. Marshmallow, right? So, because I'm a stickler for reality, of course, Marcia, the marshmallow, is dressed in her signature V-neck stretchy dress, layered with a lovely cardigan, right? Her hair is pulled back in a bun, held in place with a velvet scrunchie. Okay, and just like the real Marcia, she's wearing no pants. So, Scott, before you get too excited, I don't know if my craftsmanship is machine washable. So, hang on to that. Just like the regular Squishmallows, I have created a bio tag for the marshmallow. So I'd like to read that to you guys just for a moment here. Marcia is a Squishmallow with ALS, but she doesn't let that get her down. She uses her groans and hand gestures to let you know exactly what she's thinking. She's also a great cook who won't hesitate to boss you around her kitchen. Marcia speaks fluent French, loves horses, Loki, and Team Vampires, and has a Starbucks order so long it won't even fit on this tag. Marcia also comes with a service dog to warm her feet, which is all he did today while we were over there. It was like perfect. I couldn't have planned it better. Okay, so this is the marshmallow. And I made a service dog too, just in case you guys are worried about her getting safely home. So here's Vader, right, her little service dog. And he comes in his working vest, complete with a handle for her to like hold on to. It does come off so he knows when he's off duty. It's very confusing for him because Vader doesn't really know when he's on duty either. It's here as a wardrobe option for him. Vader also comes with a bio tag. Vader is a trained service dog that will steal your heart faster than he can steal a sandwich from your hand. He loves to wear his official blue working vest to let everyone know that they're welcome to pet him. Vader dreams of sleeping all day, snagging whatever food he can, and being in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's also so into recycling that he eats his own poop. So, Marcia, I just, to close, want to remind you that you only roast the people that you love. And look, you somehow filled this whole place. So, despite the fact that there are, 150 people here who love you, I just want you to remember, none of them made you souvenirs.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kristen Archer. How the rest of you have taken attention. That was commitment right there. Our next roadster travel all the way up from Texas, because who wouldn't want to leave Texas? Named after one of our most favorite presidents, a film star of TV shows. Reagan, like her namesake, has done some of her best work working with monkeys. Please welcome Reagan Scott.
Work for Matt Waugh. I have this thing where I kind of just think out loud. And it's my favorite, or it's Matt Waugh's favorite trait of mine. But, so Marcia, I was never able to keep up with your, kind of like Mike Adams right here. I can either see you or I can read my notes. So, I was never able to really keep up with your quick wit or be able to respond fast enough, so I'm just really thankful that you can't talk to me right now. And speaking of thank yous, this is really a thank you for several life lessons that you've taught me. So the first one is the concept of a French 75. So like Marcia, I have a passion for all things French, including French champagne, and let's be clear, Prosecco is not champagne. It is wine with bubbles from Italy. If it's champagne, it needs to come from Champagne. So a French 75. So the first night we're at dinner at Mother and Sons in Durham, like we often do. Yes. So I asked Marcia, what you drinking? She says a French 75. I'm like, I've never had that. What is it? And she says it's champagne and lemon juice and gin. I'm like, I don't like gin. And she says, well, you can put vodka in. I was like, I like vodka. Can I order it with vodka? She's like, yeah, sure. Well, here's the thing, Marcia. Thanks a lot. That's called the French 76. Like, who knew? You go to the bar, you order a French 75, sub the gin for vodka, and they're like, so you want a French 76? Thanks, Marcia. Appreciate it. So here's the other one that I want to thank you for. So for those of us that traveled quite a bit with Cisco, you were either a Sheraton person or a Hilton person, and they were across the street. Well, as you guys know from Laura's story, we were Sheraton people, right? And for those of you that know anything about the Sheraton, not only is the bar famous, but so is the coffee guy. And so I want to say thank you, the coffee guy. So I want to say thank you, Marcia, for allowing me to now be able to skip the line, because when the coffee guy, you're only somebody when you go into the coffee shop with Marcia. And now the coffee guy like makes Marcia's coffee before she even gets to the counter. And I'm like, how do you get that? Well, you hang out with Marcia, now I can always get coffee ahead of the line. Despite the fact that I'm always running late, the coffee guy's always got my coffee ready. So thank you for the coffee. Speaking of running late, we have another friend in the audience, our friend Monica. So there's another famous night. I'm certain we were at Mother and Sons. And Marcia and Steve Pickavance, who is not here, one of our esteemed colleagues that lives in Scotland, we're running a little bit late because we're all a little bit hungover. Like, no lie, it was really bad. And we're sitting in the Sheraton bus driving to the Cisco campus, and I'm like, all I want right now is a sausage biscuit. So Marcia's like, I'm on it. She texts Monica, we get to the conference room, yes, we're late. Mike's like, where have you guys been? We're hungover, Mike, because you took us out drinking last night. Monica shows up, we've got a whole spread. We've all got our little boxes of sausage and biscuits and eggs, and we're full. So thank you, Marcia, for helping me solve my hangovers, and thank you, Monica, for helping me get through my hangover. All right, so you guys like set the stage for this. Like, I thought my stories were kind of cute. Y'all were really good. So all of you guys that came before me, well done. Sorry to like lower the night. So let's see. So the next one, my next thank you is, again, another drunk night in the bar. This one now involves our HR manager, who also is here. Thank you, Brenna. So Marcia and Brenna and I are sitting there, and Marcia starts going on about this dog that's with the Kansas City Humane Society. And it's like some long, drawn out, like heartfelt story about this dog. I think he might have been a service dog, or he might have been a homeless person's dog, and he needed like $500 worth of vet bills. And yes, I'm drunk. Next thing I know, apparently I donated to save this dog. Thanks, Marcia. So then I come home, weeks later, all of a sudden we're getting all this mail from the Kansas City Humane Society. And my husband's like, what are you doing? Why are we getting Kansas City? I'm like, oh, thanks, Marcia. Thanks, Marcia. So this is just a great thank you, Marcia, for all of the amazing time, all the amazing wine, and the amazing champagne that we've always shared together. So I forgot my champagne glass, so let's just toast to Marcia. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Reagan Scott. Our next roaster is one of the family's personal trainers, and in a dedication to avoiding personal training that Marcia has exhibited, which I think we can all be extraordinarily proud of. Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Morton.
Raise this up here. It's difficult for him because he too avoids the personal trainer sometimes. So, first I want to start off with the personal jokes. Trevor says, "Hi, Marcia." So, and also Brian Tyndall, if you could stand up. Oh, okay, he's back there. All right. So Stacy, and so that I don't have to talk super slow. Hi, Stacy. Could you please translate for Brian so he can understand what's going on? I got you covered. So I don't know a lot of the Cisco folks, but we're all already at a disadvantage because Matt has the advantage here of having an accent, and everything's always funnier when you have an accent. So, we've got to follow that. Reagan, right? It's okay, I'm from Texas too. So who? And it is not normal to like snow and to want to drive in snow and that kind of stuff, so you're okay. So I first met Marcia back in 2008, I believe, and she came into me and said that she wanted to get stronger because she had some kids at home that she had to get stronger for so she could handle them. One of them was a big giant man-child. And she also wanted me to train Scott so that he could help out. So a few days later I met Scott and I realized that he was the man-child she was talking about. So over the years we worked on that. So I also really quickly learned about Marcia's lack of coordination. So between falling off the horses, just falling over air, and constantly rolling ankles, we started working on balance and that kind of stuff. And just started working on getting her more functional. And I think that we've got you there now to where, I think you're safe. You're not going to fall over anymore. But if there was ever a person who could roll their ankle in a wheelchair, it would be Marcia. So, on top of the constantly falling, there were also some other obstacles we had as far as Marcia's ability to come in and work out. It seemed like every time she went on a trip, mostly to India, she'd come back with a sinus infection. And so the sinus infection on top of that would also mess with her balance. And I got to thinking more and more, and it's like, why is she riding horses? She shouldn't be riding horses, she can't even walk. So, it didn't occur to me, her kids love My Little Pony, Scott does too. So I was like, why does she always want to be around horses? And I understood, it clicked one day, it's because she's married to a horse's ass. So Jennifer, I didn't read either. It's not because I can't, being a personal trainer. It's just that I did not read it. So, but overall, it's been an honor to get to know Scott and Marcia, and I've enjoyed all the time with them and their families. I've got to meet people like Brian, unfortunately, but also her extended family, and work with them and help them. And it's great that I could come here tonight and get to see you and honor you with this. So thank you, and it's been great.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Morton. We are reaching our final roster. I think you all know what that means. You've heard the Wookiee talk. Wookiees are nice, cuddly, friendly animals. This one is not. It hates everybody, and it'll be happy to tell you about it. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Barber.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you for all for coming. This is a really awesome thing that everybody could come and be a part of this with us. And we just deeply, deeply want to thank you. Also, Nick Offerman's here. Holy shit, Ron Swanson himself. And then live jazz, and I've been telling people that a world-renowned, vibraphonist is going to be here for jazz vibraphonist, and everybody's like, "What the fuck is a vibraphone?" Oh! And now we know. Thank you, Christian, for providing music. This is awesome. And then Jay, just one thing. I've hated you for a long time. You made me do things that hurt, and it makes me cry, and that's exactly why I sent Brian to you, because it's my revenge. So, also the Kristen, the Squishmallow, I didn't realize that the first one, instead of being named Zed, was actually Del, the not quite as funky Homo sapien dirty hippie. So. I also wanted to, everybody was coming up here and kind of talking about how they met Marcia and things like that. And, but it's PG. Fuck PG. This is not going to be happening. I will be telling a story of how Marcia and I met in all details. Janice, I have wanted to tell you this story for 20 years. And, Marcia has forbade me to tell it. In fact, she's trying to get me to stop right now. I'll just say right now that it's, and this is going to be crass, but it's me. It's probably a good thing Andy's dead, because this probably would have killed him. By the way, there's a lot of Cisco people here, and there's a few Sprint people. It's interesting because Marcia and I we've been married for almost 22 years now. We've been together for 24 years. It's really only in the past maybe 3 to 4 years that she allowed me to talk to any of her coworkers. So this is really fun for me. If you don't know me, you will. It's going to be a good time. Oh, by the way, also, Cisco ladies, if any of you are single, I will be here pretty soon too. So, I'm going to need a new sugar mama. So, I have an art degree, so I'm not making any money anytime soon. All right, so how I met Marcia. Way back in 1998, which is probably when half of the people here were in diapers. I used to work at a place called Skill Pass Seminars, and it was kind of a cool place. It was really for the 90s. It was a really open and out place that you could work at. And so that kind of went around, and there were a number of gay and lesbian and trans people that worked there because it was known that you could be out and it was fine to be there. And also at the time, it was a privately owned company. So the owners would do, I guess what would be called team builders now, but they basically just had a company-wide party every month. And there was free booze. And, you know, I was 21 and broke, and anytime there was free booze, I would definitely be there. So there was a party in February, and I went. I got my 2 free drink tickets. I tried to get 4 free drink tickets by saying that my date was in the bathroom. But the person that was handing out the drink tickets was the roommate of my ex, and so that didn't work very well. And so I started walking around to ask if anybody had extra drink tickets. And Marcia was a sucker, and she's like, yeah, this place sucks, so you can have one of my drink tickets. So I'm like, oh, nice. So I got a drink, I sat down, we started talking. I was wearing bowling shoes and a wallet on a chain, which she obviously found extremely attractive. It was 98. People did that. And she was there with a coworker of mine, Laura Brown being lesbian. So I just kind of assumed that they were together, as in, like, together. So, but I got my drink, I sat down, we started chatting, come to find out she went to Shawnee Mission East. I knew a bunch of people that she went to school with. I went to Shawnee Mission Northwest. She knew a bunch of people that I went to school with. And it was a really fun conversation. I thought she was really cool. And I finished my drink, and I'm like, oh, Laura Brown really found, like, a really awesome lady. And then I turned to her and I'm like, hey, really nice to meet you. I'm gonna go hit on chicks that'll put out. I'll see you later. And I got up and I left. That's a true story. I've for many years tried to be a dirty whore. It just didn't work out very well. Unfortunately for some of us in the room, it did. But we're gonna get to that in a second. So you know, I got up, I left, I didn't think anything about it. A couple of weeks go by, and I used to be a smoker, so I took a smoke break and went out to the cigarette gazebo. And lo and behold, Laura Brown is sitting there having a cigarette, and I walk up to her and I'm like, hey, dude, your girlfriend's like super awesome. She's awesome, way to go, good catch. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm single, I'm not dating anybody. I'm like, oh, that girl that you brought to that thing that one time. And she's like, oh yeah, Marcia, the one that she thought you were really cute until you said that asinine comment. Like, what the fuck? And I'm like, oh, whoops. You know, I'm like, you know, it's Kansas City. It's a big place. You know, at the time, that's before I knew that, like, the entirety of Kansas City knows each other and everybody slept with each other. And it's, most people here have herpes, probably. You know, I'm like, oh, well then, you know, tell her, you know, I'm sorry. I'm probably never gonna see her again, but like, I didn't mean it like that. I thought you guys were together. Like, whatever. She was really cool anyway. And then she's like, yeah, fine, whatever. And life goes on. A couple of weeks later, I'm over at a friend of mine's apartment, Will Lee, who unfortunately cannot be with us tonight. And we're watching the first Evander Holyfield-Lennox Lewis fight. I don't know if anybody watches boxing in here. Obviously no one does. It was a total fucking sham, it was bullshit, like it was totally thrown, but that's, Don King was involved, whatever. And so I'm like, well, I have to leave, because I had promised another coworker that I would help her move the next day, and I had a truck, so if anybody's ever owned a truck, you know that you have to fucking move everybody. So I get up and I leave, leaving a little bit early, I think it's like 9-ish or whatever. And I'm going out of Will's apartment, and lo and behold, here comes Laura Brown and Marcia, at the time white, walking out. I'm like, oh, hey, I know you. And they're like, oh, hey. And I'm like, hey, I'm sorry about the comment. Like, I just assumed that you were together. And I was just joking, whichever. And Marcia's like, it's fine, whatever. She's like, we're gonna go out for drinks if you wanna come get some. And I'm like, well, I have to help someone move the next morning, so I was gonna go home a little bit early. And she's like, And I'm like, I'm broke because, that's how I was. And she's like, oh, well, I'll buy you some drinks. I'm like, in. So we go down to a little bar called UBU, which was a gay bar in Kansas City. And they had like glow-in-the-dark pool tables. Sort of like fluorescent, basically. They had black lights, so they like fluoresced. So it was kind of fun. We're playing pool. And it's me, Marcia, Laura Brown. And Marcia was talking to Laura Brown because they used to go to a bar here in town. Not the Hurricane. What was it called? Yeah, that's true. What the hell am I thinking? Atlantis. It was Atlantis. And so they had karaoke nights on Thursdays. Which also happened to be gay nights, and Marcia was a fag hag, and that was kind of her deal. This was the 90s, that's what it was called. So she went there, and she was apparently flirty with a gentleman, and managed to take him home, and they had relations. Sorry, James. So she's telling the story to Laura Brown because Laura Brown knows this guy, blah, 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 blah. And I think it's hilarious. Meanwhile, we're playing pool. She keeps trying to grab my ass to try and make me miss shots because she's terrible at pool. And I was a barfly at the time, so I was actually fairly decent. And then she starts talking about how the guy that she brought home the night before was so well endowed that she had to call into work sore. And at this point, I start laughing my ass off, right? And I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe you're telling me this. This is amazing. Like, these are my people, right? Like, this is great. This is like the best night of my life so far. And so I'm like, I've met my new best friend, right? And so I'm like, this is great. So she's like, oh, by the way, she tells me the story. I win pool, obviously. And then she's like, oh, I have to go tell this other guy, Jazz, he was the KJ at Atlantis. For those that don't know, karaoke jockey. Yeah, because we're real classy here in Kansas City. So he worked at another gay bar called the Dixie Belle. The Dixie Belle is now defunct, but at the time, it was a pretty big place. And I think I had been there once at the time. And so we pile into the car and we drive down to the Dixie Belle. And we go in there, everybody goes to the bar. Marcia's like, where's Jazz? He's like, oh, he's working at the bar downstairs. Nobody knew that there was a bar downstairs because we're straight people. And the bar downstairs was a leather bar. And if you've never seen a leather bar or know what a leather bar is, if you've ever seen any of the Police Academy movies, the Blue Oyster Bar in the Police Academy movies is very close to what this was, with the exception there were many less light bulbs. So Laura Brown makes a beeline for the bar. I think she ordered like just a foot long of shots. And so Marcia grabs me and pulls me downstairs. We go down this like cement steps with like a stone wall into like darkness, and I walk in, and there's like literally like a string of Christmas lights, much like this, and there's one light bulb hanging from a ceiling over a dance floor. So it's very gloomy. And I used to frequent gay bars. Doug, I think, is out here somewhere. Doug and I used to go to the Cabaret all the time because they had a drag show, which was fantastic. So I'm a comfortable guy. I'm comfortable with my sexuality, whatever. So we go down there, and I'm sitting there, my eyes are adjusting. Marcia goes up, Jazz is there. She's talking to Jazz, yada, yada, yada. I slept with this dude. He was so huge, yada, yada, yada. While I'm standing there, this man who... at the time, is probably as old as Matt Wall looks now. And, he was wearing, and I'm not shitting you, he was wearing nothing but thigh-high leather boots, a studded leather G-string, and a leather policeman's cap. It was classic. And he sidles on up next to me and he's like, who are you here with? And at the same time, my eyes had adjusted enough that I'm realizing that there are people actually having sex in the corner. And I'm like, This is slightly more than I bargained for. So at this moment, I'm like, oh, that's my girlfriend. And I point to Marcia, the person that I've only seen twice in my life. And the bartender, AKA Jazz, notices me and says, oh my God, Marcia, is that boy with you? She's like, yeah. And he goes, is he straight? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, oh my God, get him the fuck out of here. So we're like, all right. So I'm like, okay, that was an interesting experience. I've become a more well-rounded person. So we go upstairs. We find Laura Brown, who had wandered off somewhere, and basically carried her to the car. And we dropped her off at her apartment, and then we went back to Marcia's apartment. And we got there, and she's like, hey, you know, I had a housewarming party last week. Do you want to come upstairs for a drink? I have all this extra beer. And I'm like, oh, sure. You know, it was an interesting night. I'll have a beer. So we go upstairs, and then she gets me a beer, and then she puts on John Cusack, greatest American film actor ever, movie. Which one was it? Was it Better Off Dead? Yeah, it was Better Off Dead. Because who doesn't want their $2? Yeah, see? John Cusack movie references are apparently the way to go tonight. So then she puts on Better Off Dead. We're starting to watch that, and then all of a sudden she's like, taking off my boots. I'm like, she's like, oh, here's a foot massage. And at this moment, I'm like, holy shit, I might get laid. Like, this is getting even better because I know she puts out, right? So I'm like, hey, do you want to retire to the bedroom? And she's like, oh, I can't. My cat peed on the bed, and I haven't changed the sheets yet. And I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate. And she's like, but the couch folds out. Once again, I'm sorry, Janice. So needless to say, it's a good evening. And, a few hours later, in the wee hours of the morning, I was having a cigarette, as you are wont to do afterwards, right? And it dawns on me. The cat didn't pee on your bed. You just totally fucked a dude in the bed the night before, and you didn't want to do the second guy the next time. And then she's doing the exact same thing that she did that day. And she's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, you are my people. Show me your ways. At that moment, I was like, well, I have to go. I have to help someone move in the morning. And here's my phone number. You're going to be my bestie. So, not even thinking that we were going to date, I was like, this is awesome. And that is how we met. But in case you were wondering if I was magical and it changed her ways, I was not, because there was another guy the night after. So, hat trick in one weekend, that one. Janice, I gotta tell you, your daughter's a pretty amazing woman, and I have a feeling, because Andy used to tell me stories, I have a feeling that she learned it all from you. So, I don't know, maybe not, I don't know. So, and then also, I mean, it was a special thing. Like, Marcia's an amazing person, as everyone here knows. She unfortunately made the poor decision of giving me a key to her apartment about 3 weeks after that, and summer was fast approaching, and she had air conditioning. So, I did frequent her apartment a lot. And then one day she came home from work and I was playing a video game on the PlayStation, and she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm playing a video game. And she's like, I don't own a PlayStation. What is that? And I'm like, it's my PlayStation. And she's like, why is it here? I'm like, I live here. What are you talking about? She's like, God damn it, you have to start cleaning then. I'm like, oh, all right, that's fine. And then, like, about a week after that, and I had met Janice and Andy at that point in time once. Actually, technically twice. I saw them coming up to her apartment one time and hightailed it the fuck out of there. Because I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. But shortly after that, we went over to Janice and Andy's house for dinner. And this was like the formal, I think, introduction. And on the way over there, Marcia and I had a huge argument. We were fighting like the entire way. And so I'm like, we've got to tell your parents that I'm living here, right? It's fine. My parents know that I'm living here. Obviously, because I'm no longer living at my dad's house, because, once again, broke. And she's like, don't fucking do it. I'm like, people's parents love me. It's fine. I'm a lovable guy. And she's like, don't fucking do it. And then, so all the way, this is how it goes, back and forth. Until finally, we pull up in front of her parents' house, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. She's like, fucking do whatever the fuck you want, but it's your funeral. I'm like, whatever, I mean, it'll be fine. So we go and we ring the doorbell, and they open the door, and the threshold at their old house was 6-8 inches tall, like off the, I mean, it was a large step. And the door opens, and I look down, and Andy White is staring up and glaring at me, like with one eye, right? You dead now. I'm like, okay, that's weird. So I walk in, and Marcia goes off. She's like, you know, you're gonna die. And I didn't know this at the time. So I go downstairs, and I shit you not, Andy pulls out a gun. And he's like, Andy was a self-described redneck. He called himself a redneck, and he was proud of it. He's from, Missouri, the Ozark area. If you've seen the movie or the TV show, you know what I'm talking about. So he comes down, pulls out a shotgun, maybe it was a rifle, I don't know. I was like, there's a fucking gun in my face. And he's like, if I ever find out you do anything to my daughter, me and my good old boys are gonna kill you. And it was at that moment that I decided I was not going to tell Andy that I moved in with his daughter. And so I didn't answer the phone for the next 2 years. We even moved to a larger apartment, and all of my books and bookshelves were there. And if you know me, I am an avid bibliophile. So it is a large collection of books because I have problems. And they showed up kind of out of they called us, they're always very good about calling and saying that, hey, we're gonna come over, blah, blah, blah. Well, one morning, they called from the parking lot. And I'm like, oh shit. Luckily, we had a friend that spent the night, and we're all in our pajamas, and so they came up and they're looking around, and why is he here in his pajamas? Oh, he just came over, we're gonna have pancakes, right? We're making pancakes. That's what they call it. Making pancakes. And they wanted to see Marcia's new apartment, so they're walking around, they're like, why are Scott's wallet and keys on the nightstand right there? Marcia's like, I don't know. And I think at that moment, she's like, I have no idea, we're fucked. I can't even say anything. I'm pretty sure Janice knew at that point, and she was like, and Andy was just blissfully happy that his daughter was just pure as the driven snow, and would be nice enough to invite her boyfriend over in the morning to make him pancakes. But yeah, and then that was actually, we had been engaged by that point for a while, because I actually, as you know, Marcia, everybody's met her. She's a very open and welcoming person, obviously in more than one way. I met Marcia that very first time at that faded evening at the Dixie Bell in March. Honestly, it was March 17th, aka the Ides of March, which I also think was prophetic for her. I would say March, April, around May, I was out at a bar with my friend Will Lee, and I'm like, hey, so this girl I met, like, I really like her. And he's like, I don't know, that's great, whatever. And I'm like, no, I think I might like propose to her. And he's like, oh, well, that's fucking crazy, but okay. And so, yeah, about 3 months after I met her, I proposed to Marcia. And I have been the cancer on her side for the last 24 years. And so, thank you. And so I'm finally going to be free. And she has a life insurance policy, so it was, I played the long game. But yes, I do want to say thank you, Marcia. You have literally been the best thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. I struggle to imagine what life is going to be like without you. Yes, I love you too, because that does mean I love you in our house. And at this point, I just want to make her cry, because I'm a terrible, terrible person. But I do, I love you. Taking care of you has been literally the honor of my life. And I will stop, so thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Scott Barber. Do people need the composure room? We're not all going to fit in the composure room. Maybe we take Marcia up there and we can all compose ourselves down here. How does that sound? So traditionally, at the end of a roast, the roastee would get the opportunity to give a rebuttal. So if you've ever sat there while Marcia types on that fucking beacon spell, it will make you shoot your brains out. So she gave me what I refer to as the very briefest of notes, next thing she would like pointed out. Reagan, she would like to point out, is much like the Energizer Bunny. Sometimes you just gotta let her run out. And she would go on and on and on. Jennifer Lyon, she refers to as spastastic, because she will get up and run with a hangover, which I don't understand either of those concepts. Getting up and running or having a hangover, it just seems, I don't understand that. Dell, she'd like to point out, doesn't know when to quit, and I think after our experience today, we can all appreciate what she means by that. Brenna, who's just going to be collateral damage here, tells the same story over and over again when she's had too much to drink. Mike, she has told many, many times, and I'm not sure the circumstances, and quite honestly, I'm not sure I want to stop touching his face. And finally, she'd like to point out that Scott, for many, many years, has been a kept husband. And so, he should be goddamn grateful for what he has. All right, I'd like to thank all our roasters. It was a brave people to come up here and talk to you, replicate about Marcia. I appreciate them doing it, because if I'd had to do this alone, we would have been finished an hour ago, and we'd all be a lot happier. want to thank our band, who I believe are going to play further tunes this evening. I'd like to thank our sound engineer Ian for his support, and the Vox staff and the caterers, and especially the person running the bar for their support. And I'd also like to thank you. Right, we had a little talk, an intimate little conversation earlier, and I appreciate everybody buckling down and playing their part, because so far the comfort room does not appear to have been used. Although I think I'm going to go up there and have a little cry myself for totally different reasons. I want to close out here. Marcia, we love you. Everybody in this room loves you. We all cherish our friendship with you. And we are all sick of hearing your fucking stories about your goddamn horses.